Join us for a review of the VW Passat Alltrack facelift. Let's go! In the front you can see, yeah, it's a facelift, therefore the face has been lifted, literally. You can see there's a new headlamp design overall, and this is more one unit here also together with the front grille. And also on the technology side, those headlamps standard now come with full LED lamps. Optional, you can also upgrade it to a matrix LED light. It has 44 individual LEDs then for a special high beam function. And here the Alltrack, this is a so-called soft off-roader version. Again, you know, for some soft off-road situations, or if you just prefer this visual. Very interesting right here, you see those cascading turning indicators now. You know that also from some Audi models. This adds a lot more, you know, drama to the whole turning process. 4.77 m, 15'6" or 188 inches is the length of the Passat, and that has remained the same. The platform is of course the same, still the MQB platform, the transverse building mount platform at Volkswagen. It's just that some designs have changed here in the side profile. For example, you get new rim style, so new wheels, 17 to 19 inch. Those ones are 18 inch. Here also the Alltrack with the special badge, then those plastic crossover wheel arches and the grey contrast in the lower part, and I think it does very well suit the vehicle. Same I already thought with the A4 Allroad, for example. I think this crossover style just works with those mid-size estates. Or what's your take on that? Other than that, you got roof rails here also for the normal variant, and you can see that this Alltrack here is a little bit higher. But as I said earlier, everything we tell you today counts for all of the Passat EU versions, so sedan, the variant, the estate, Alltrack, GTE and so on. So everything we tell you today, besides the ground clearance for this one here, will be all the same as for all of the updates. So think still a rather classic and elegant look, here also with the dropping line at the height of the door handles. And now to the rear perspective. The change with the facelift are those tail lamps right there with the new LED structure. I'll also soon give you a close-up where I hit the brake actually, that you can see that it changes when you hit the brakes. It's very interesting. The Alltrack here also has some contrast in the lower part, but the rest of the form has not been touched. It's a typical hatch ending here for the variant. Of course, there will still be the sedan that looks a little bit different, especially here from the rear. Well, you've seen, not sure how can you pick it up on camera, we made that car a little bit dirty here with soft off-roading, but that's also what the Alltrack is for. So you know, when you hit the brakes, you can see how the rear lamps then change. It's a very interesting effect indeed. And don't forget also here to show you how the indicator looks like in the rear. The car key here with the slide upgrade, so it's not that you push this button then it flips out. If you need the manual key at some point for like in special emergency situations, I don't know, it's in the top right there. But other than that, you usually just open and close like this, or with the keyless entry, it's also available. Put your hand on the outside here to close the car, then you can see the mirrors also flip in here with a nice contrasting aluminum cover or this aluminum style. Oh, very nice integration here, really, you know, slim then. And then put your hand on the inside to open it again. Then the door closing sound test. Yeah, very solid, that's nice. Then inside of the doors, soft touch here, but we can expect that at that price point. Then this special style here, this is new, looks like, you know, like a shiny dark wood style somewhat. The inside, then here's some leather red and also some soft touch materials. There's a bright interior styling in this case. You can also pick different ones. Then audio optional sound system with a quite decent sound. And then we can see some changes also right there. For example, there's a completely new steering wheel for all of the Passats. It was introduced this style with the T-Cross, here with a more angular styling right here. Reminds us a little bit of the Hofmeister Knick or Hofmeister Kink from BMW, very interesting. Perforated sides here, and the Alltrack has a special badge then in the lower part of the steering wheel. Soon more also to those digital instruments. First of all, there are new seating materials available. This one, however, is the classic old animal skin full spec, but there are new fabrics in Alcantara also available here for the Passat facelift. This one is also the so-called Ergo Comfort seat. Again, as I said, it's also available in materials where you do not stick to the seat in summertime as it is right now, for example. But the seat form itself is quite comfortable. I can also take a seat right here. I always get the question, you know, you want me is 86 or 6'1". What about cars for taller people? And the Passat is really a very suitable car for taller people. Also, if you compare other mid-size segment cars, for example, a Mercedes C-Class is way smaller here in the front than this one here. So from all the mid-size segment cars, I think the Passat is especially suitable if you're very tall. See here, if I put the seat in the lowest position, I still have plenty of headroom left. You can also go for a panoramic roof, then you will have a little bit less headroom, but still enough. Steering wheel can be adjusted far in reach and height. And also, you know, from the whole room you have, like in this area, is not narrow at all. So I really like that, and it also contributes here to this spacious travel feeling you have in this vehicle. So it's really interesting what they did here with the interior. In general, the Passat has this horizontal stress here also, soft touch dashboard, then those new decor elements also nicely done. I like it also with the split here, dark on the top part that you don't have any reflections, bright in the lower part that looks a little bit nicer and brighter. And then, for example, you can see the analog clock, that one is gone. There's just this Passat badge here now. Not really sure what's the intention of that. I mean, it looks quite nice and so on, but the analog clock was also just fine. Or wasn't it? I'm not sure. Then analog instruments, it starts, optional 11.7-inch new digital instruments right there. There's also an optional head-up display, but in this separate plastic glass layer. You're going to take a look at this new steering wheel. I really like the styling, also with a heating function available, and soon also a little bit more details to those assistance systems, because on the left side you can activate the cruise control, the adaptive one, or also this new special assist. I will talk more about that when we drive the car. Right side then to change something in the instruments, or then again the steering wheel heating. With those digital instruments you're pretty flexible. For example, check the assistance systems. You can also have the map here in the middle, and then you can also change the view, for example, to make it all the way with the map. That's also very interesting. You can still see the speed. This is a very interesting option why you should maybe go with those. But then again, yeah, I mean, analog ones will also do just fine. The head-up display here with a separate plastic glass layer. Then what you can see on the inside is, for example, the speed, loud speed, also some assistance system information and so on. It's good, yeah, not as good at those proper head-up displays where they project it directly into a windscreen. That's already nice to have. So here you start with a 6.5-inch, optional an 8-inch, a little bigger, and this one here is the biggest 9.2-inch. The 8-inch screen already receives this very software here with the MIB3, this electronic building platform, so to say, at Volkswagen. And this one here, the top one, also has this gesture control, but I think we can also easily live without it. So the smaller, the 8-inch, also has knobs here for zooming in and also for the volume. I like that. I would stick with the smaller one. This one here, the optional one, it looks a little bit more fancy. Then you have everything in a capacitive way. CarPlay here now, wireless, finally available. so that's the Bluetooth connection, but you can still also use a cable for a normal CarPlay or Android Auto connection. That's possible. And here also the inductive charging platform, you've seen that message right there. So very interesting as for this aspect. Then the GPS right here, it's very well to use, good responsiveness, and looks pretty fancy too. So that's nice. We are near the River Rhine today in Germany. Quite nice region also to do some car reviews. And then you can have, for example, some vehicle information here with the off-road view for the Alltrack. That's somewhat special here with the degrees of the tires and so a compass and the height actually 375 meters. That's quite something already. So it's actually quite easy to use, a good overview. You can still connect your phone via Bluetooth. That one would also be possible. There's still a manual classic climate unit, so to say. Well, you have the digital screens right there, but I think it's quite good that you can still touch those and it's easier to control it while driving. Then this inductive charging tray, it's also big enough, unlike in the Arteon. And there's a USB-C charger right now in the front. So they went all the way for the USB-C devices now. What's also new with the DCC, you can not only go for the preset modes, you can also go to individual and then really fine-tune the DCC. This would be the normal setting, and then there's a span, or the adaptive suspension. This is a preset, and then it varies a little bit stiffer and less stiff, depending on the situation. But you can fine-tune it really like how you want to have it. I don't know. I mean, it's more playing around. You have more possibilities. Usually, most people leave it in a comfortable area and then go for sport if you want to have some more fun. But maybe you find after a while that like this setting is exactly the one you need. One interesting detail here is the normal back mirror, and it is frameless, therefore pretty elegant, but still you can have a good look to the rear. Here in the middle part, you can slide this one open and have some adaptive cup holders. They will really eat different sizes of bottles. Then you could put your key, for example, right here, but you also can put it somewhere else, of course. 12-volt power supply. And then under the armrest, there's a new USB-C port, so there's also another USB-C port there, and some more space, for example. There's a serial bar. So the rear compartment, right here, door opens wide enough. Then there's also here a manual shade for the kids, that's available, and also very nice build quality, also soft touch here at the inside of the doors at the rear. And then you can see it's very spacious, you can always see it right there. Only the Skoda Superb, because it's a little bit longer, a little bit more using of space than is better. But here, this is among the best also in this segment. Look at that. That is when I am driving actually. And then there's still plenty of legroom left, even for tall Ls in the rear. It's a good and comfortable seating position here. Also, if you think about the headroom, still no problem, and it will still work even with the panoramic roof as for me. So in the oval position here, you have a lot of free space to move around. That's really cool. You cannot move any bench or something. Here with the seats, you can only flip it completely. There's no angle adjustment also available. What about the middle seat here? Well, there is a middle tunnel because you can also get the all-wheel drive. Then you have to put your feet to the side. You sit a little bit higher here in this middle area. It would somehow still work, but it's a little bit stiff as for the bolstering, so not too comfortable here in the middle part, but it would be possible space-wise. Then we have here those cup holders right there. Also move that here as a ski hatch. To have this reach through, that's possible. And then in the lower part we have a separate climate unit if you order that, also with rear seat heating, again an option. In the very lower part you have a USB-C port now with the facelift and a real power supply. But if you think about charging your MacBook there, it's really very hard to fit it right. It's a little bit too narrow in this position there. Let's flip the logo to access the trunk. Electric tailgate. Not so much has been done with the facelift right here. It's already quite good because you can see those square dimensions. You can also fit a replacement tire if you like. Underneath here, that's possible. A clean solution here for the cover because it has some rails to the side, and then you just have to press here to actually move it forward in 2 steps. That's cool. And you have some additional hangers here as a possibility. It's also a nice idea. 12-volt power supply. Well, then what about the measurements? In the normal length here, it is 1 meters and 12, and the normal width is here, even a little bit more than a meter in this area. Then you have those small compartments right there. Here you can see height-wise, does that still fit with the backpack? Yes, that does indeed still fit. Even if I put it, yeah, that does indeed work, because here the height to the rail is about 47 centimeters, and the overall height then, if you think about loading a bicycle or something, this is 72 centimeters. And then what about flipping the seats? This is a very good solution too, with those levers here, left and right. Here we go, and they flip all the way, unlike in the Audi A4, where this does not happen that way. And here this is a little bit less than 2 meters than to the tall drivers. Of course, would be a little bit more when you have smaller drivers, and then you can load in the middle through them even longer than 2 meters. And last but not least, for example, if you have dogs, you can also get this integrated net here, for example. You can secure them on a top part here each, and then you also have more security, or just for another luggage security if you really load everything to the very, very high top. And then what else is missing? The child safety test when I close the electric tailgate here, and whoa! Again, the same was still in the Tiguan. This is just, you know, they just have too much torque on the system, so be careful, don't get squished in there. Let's drive in a more agile way. Let's put it here to the sport mode and give it some of the corners. I deactivated all of the assistance systems, and that together with the sport mode also gives me a little bit better feeling in the steering wheel. So it also is a little bit stiffer to control in the sports mode. And then let's see how the performance is here in the corners. Again, although we have the Alltrack setup here, the car does not shake up too much, especially here in the sports mode. It's very well suitable for those very even roads we have here. That's pretty cool. And see here, I don't have to steer that much, so the steering input is very progressive, and keep my hands at the steering wheel all the time. And considering it's a front-wheel driven platform, still very good handling. I mean, here in this case, of course, an all-wheel drive, and you can only get the power to the ground that well because this Haldex clutch transports also some power from front to the rear axle. Maximum distribution of 50-50. It will still be somewhat front wheel biased, yes, but in most situations that won't play a major role then for that vehicle here. The good thing is really that it has very nice handling. This MQB platform also guarantees, you know, enough chassis stiffness, and it is a comfortable cruiser, but it is actually still quite some fun also to steer it here through those corners. And you can see how fast I could catch up to the car in front of us. I wasn't even going fast, you know, at least what I felt. So, but that was still pretty cool. So, a nice ride here, still also with Passat Alltrack. So, if you think about, should I go for the higher variant because it's, you know, maybe not sporty enough for me or something, it's actually no problem, especially if you have then the dynamic chassis control here. So that's a little bit too boring sticking behind that one. It's always like, oh, this one. So we can turn around here, and then we can also go uphill. That's also good then for you know, another engine performance test. This is the rear view camera with a nice resolution, also with the drone view from above. So now we're still in that sport mode. Let's go uphill now. That's picking up speed quite nicely. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's a business and or family estate here, and it's really a lot of fun to drive here, especially because it, you know, this mid-size segment is always a good compromise, you know. So recently also moved some bigger cars here up those hills, and this one here is actually more fun, and really, you know, how smooth the steering input is and the overall handling is really cool. So the Passat sometimes doesn't look that sporty, but you know, yeah, it's no rear-wheel driven car, yes, all true, but the driving dynamics here and the agility, and still, we are in the Alltrack even. Very, very nice ride and handling. Well, we're driving the Alltrack, so why not showing some soft off-roading? And here we do have that. The DCC is set on comfort mode, and therefore, still, although it's rough terrain, it's actually a quite nice ride and giving me a lot of confidence. So this is also what this car is meant to do, some soft off-roading. That's about it, you know, but pretty nice. And now to some Autobahn driving and focus on assistance systems, because that one have been upgraded majorly. Interesting that the new camera can not only see different lines on the road, but also when there's, for example, a contrast between grass and tarmac. This is also pretty helpful when they are, you know, when the lines are not that well done. And here with a separate column here, I can go into the menu and activate or deactivate the lane assist. That's a helpful menu. And then I can set the adaptive cruise control. So, and activate that one here with the top button. And then I can set it here, and also the different speeds and so on. So that's pretty helpful. So then, yeah, lane assist activated. Well, and this way, distance being kept, the car in front of me, and the lane assist is basically when I'm really stepping over the lane unintentionally or so, that the car brings me back to the lane. So for example, I'm here, there it is. So of course you should keep your hands on the steering wheel all the time. And with the Volkswagen Touareg, they had it a little bit too sensitive, this automatic lane keeping, and so they decided to split both systems. So this is the lane keeping assist, and then the lower button here is the travel assist. And that one is the more proactive one, and I think it's a good decision to split that. So to split that somewhat, because that really helps you. Because here now the car is being kept in the middle of the lane. Again, it's really thought out that you keep your hands at the steering wheel, and this is then before I get off the lane. The car is being centralized. And again, as I said, with the Touareg so far, it was that, especially in Autobahn corners, when you drove a little bit faster, it was a little bit nervous at the steering wheel. They corrected that already a little bit for the Touareg with a software upgrade, but here it's even better done, and even better than that you have the chance to pick the system. So if you at some point think, oh, that's a little bit annoying for me, then you can deactivate that system and just have the AC with the emergency lane keeping assist. So a very interesting choice as for that one. And this, usually, it's really bad when you have a trap. That's very strange. I want to change the lane now or what? So here now the next traffic jam. And this is really good also, again, to test the systems here. How will it actually... The hell? So left or right now? Come on. Yeah. About that. So here now, let's activate everything, also the travel assist and the adaptive cruise control, and let's see what the car does. So it is being kept in the middle of the lane here as well. For the emergency corridor, that's not good. So I know only there's some, like the newest upgrade for the Distronic by Mercedes. It does actually recognize if you're left or right, and then moves a little bit to the side for the emergency corridor. But that's the only system doing that so far. Here the other systems, they're keeping the car in the middle of the lane. And you can see here, steering is done, acceleration is also done, and I really hope we come to a standstill at some point. That would be actually good in this case to see how the car is proceeding then or not. Here, even if we're driving at slower speed, it says take over steering. This is at the moment how the regulation is, and the manufacturers also have to take over this special regulation to do that. No, standstill? Yeah, it seems to be, yeah. So, no, come on, stop. Well, yeah, we are still 2 kilometers now, but you can see car is accelerating on its own again. And then, you should keep your hands on the steering wheel still, otherwise the car is saying, oh, don't do that. And here in this case, also new with the facelift, done with a capacitive function of the steering, so it's not that you can cheat it with putting like a Coke bottle in here. That there are some videos about that, where you can then cheat the car that it thinks, oh, someone is still steering. This is now like with the button you touch, the steering wheel knows when you're touching it or not. And this is also another upgrade they have integrated right here. Now we're coming to the standstill, and I'm just interested if the car is continuing on its own again, or if I need to push the throttle, or well, the engine started, but yeah, so I can either press resume here on the steering wheel, or just a short click on the throttle, and then it continues right again. The engine, yes, starts itself, but it doesn't. It's maybe also a safety feature that when you don't really know it, and then the car would start itself. So there's also like a philosophic discussion, you can say. Yeah, very interesting how they upgrade the systems. Again, the new camera, that one is, for example, very important. Also, then the autonomous emergency brake assistant equipment, recognizes pedestrians and even now better cyclists, for example. That's also a very important feature. Yeah, and I think that's it so far, or it's enough for you with the traffic jam here. Let's speed it a little bit more up on the Autobahn here. Just to tell you about the consumption, because we're cruising at the moment, you can get a minimum of 6 liters on 1 kilometers, 39 mpg US, 47 mpg UK. That's great. If you just cruise control 80 to 100 kilometers on the motorway and that's it, that's really very decent. Of course, will be higher when you use more of that power, because here, this one here, we put it to the S shifting mode, then it will also go back a gear. You can also use the shifting pedals to shift back even further. And then we can check out the acceleration here from 100 to, let's see. And that's 140. So that went quite quickly from this 2-liter turbo engine. I mean, 272 horsepower in here, the top spec for this vehicle. And that, of course, more than enough. So also at higher speeds, you still got a lot of power left. The diesel versions will also have a lot of torque. This is also very useful for accelerating when you're already at higher speeds. The petrols will be a little bit more fun, especially when you're more in those lower speed regions, because they're a little bit more spontaneous. But most of the time it's really about in which gear you are in, because the normal automatic gearboxes here, the dual clutch transmissions, in the normal D driving mode, they tend to shift up quite early for fuel savings then, of course. There are also different driving modes available. I'm at the moment in normal driving mode. And then there's, for example, also comfort. That sets the DCC, the dynamic chassis control, which is an option for the Passat, still an option. And it sets it, to a more comfortable level, but it always adjusts to the situation. So this DCC, the adaptive suspension, is always, between a little bit stiffer, a little bit softer, depending on the ground situation at the moment. But then when you set a driving mode, you just predefine a certain span. That's very interesting as for this system, and very good as well. And here in the comfort mode, this is what you would usually probably prefer for some nice cruising and so on, and it's really good. So the suspension here is awesome, and it also works well together with the Passat Alltrack, which is a little bit higher. You feel that it's more, a little bit crossover-ish. Not exactly an SUV feeling, but not also as low as you would have in a normal passenger car. So just a little notch. Then we can also go to the sport mode and accelerate it out, because this one here already gives you again this S shifting mode. The virtual instruments also go to a red background to have a sportier tone. That's also a very nice feature, I think, because you've maybe seen here with the eco mode, it gets blue, comfort mode gets yellow, normal mode is also blue, and sport is then red. And then let's see if we can get a safe spot to enter on the left lane. German Autobahn is always racing. Here, let's go. That's 150 kilometers. So again, also the sound is actually quite decent. Also the noise insulation is very good. I don't have to raise my voice that much. It always has been the case with the new Passat in general. Hasn't changed here with the facelift. It was already at a very good level. I also keep track of everything in the head-up display, which is not projected directly into the windscreen, but on this separate layer. And Holger and I were discussing it earlier, what's the pro and what's the con of that. So those simpler systems, like that one here, they don't project in your real line of sight, a little bit lower due to the separate layer. And then you also have the separate plastic glass layer, which is also somewhat disturbing your view just a little bit, rating it against a proper projection system. I guess for that price you pay here, you could already have expected a true head-up display. Yet again, the platform is not suitable for that yet, but that one will be rather with the all-new generation then, which will be introduced with the new Volkswagen Golf. And there will be this new MQB generation that will also feature a full head-up display. We can expect that. So far, one of the most popular Autobahn vehicles here, the Volkswagen Passat. It is the company car number one, so to say. And you can really understand that, because it's really relaxing here to drive it on the motorway. Good from noise insulation. Power really depends on the engine you pick. And especially with the DCC, it adds a lot of more comfort. There's always the question with cars, should you go for the adaptive suspension, yes or no? And with those Volkswagen vehicles, definitely yes. That makes a big difference. The base suspensions are already quite good, but the DCC definitely adds more comfort. And then also this possibility to switch it around a little bit from comfort to normal mode. I've shown you earlier that we have this individual setting as well, where we can change it in a very fine-tuned way, but I would not necessarily do that while driving. So that's why you also have a separate key and can set this presets. And usually those presets are also just fine. They're enough to use. I also still like it that we have this classic climate control. So when I say, just a little bit colder, then I just turn it 0.5 degrees or something, and then that's it. So that's to me the easiest solution. In some of the new cars where everything went into the touchscreen, that's maybe nice then for getting everything cleaned up in the interior and so on, but it's not really user-friendly while driving. That's one of the 911 convertible right there. So we go here once more. So by the way, when we're in the sport mode, get a stiffer feedback then from the suspension, so everything is a little bit stronger than sportier and so on. Here is also the blind spot monitor. So very well placed, also looks very sophisticated with those contrasting mirror caps. So in the sport mode, it's a little bit more fun to drive then, because you get this better feedback then. Even here with the Alltrack. So when you ask me, does this car feel way less sporty than in the Alltrack version? Well, not necessarily if you pick the DCC in here and set to the sport mode, and then you can even that out a little bit. Of course, a normal Passat, which is a little bit lower, will have a little bit lower center of gravity and will be driving a bit sportier, but it's not a huge difference. However, I really like those crossover styles that you have, some more ground clearance, sit a little bit higher. Also like an E-Class all-terrain or the Audi A4 or A6 all-road. I think that concept usually works pretty well. I think it's quite nice. So now back to some assistance systems here. The adaptive cruise control really keeps the distance very well, and it also keeps in the lane. See, like here, don't do that at home, kids. So just showing you how it works. Then the system is always saying like, yeah, something is going wrong. If I would continue on doing that, the car would also give me some warning signals that I should keep my hands on the steering wheel. But I just want to show you that the system actually works. And again, as I said, also up to really high speeds. Yeah, this upgrade is rather a German thing because nowhere else you can drive that fast on the motorway. And again, only when the traffic is allowing it. At the moment, not doing anything with the throttle. So this distance here is being kept, speed is being reduced. And now to our conclusion for today with the Passat facelift. Well, in general, of course, it has relatively remained the same as a base vehicle, and it was already quite good if you look at this mid-size segment. It's definitely a premium vehicle, and to me also among the leading ones in this mid-size segment in a lot of different elements. It has a lot of style and class. Here the Alltrack also has this special crossover look, yes. Some new styles then are also with the facelift, as for the rims, also for the colors. This new front is actually totally fine, looks a little bit more in line, definitely also with the new current lineup they have. Also good that you now have some technology upgrades for the headlamps. On the interior, of course, infotainment, a lot has been done right there. You do not necessarily need to go for the top trim spec as for the infotainment. You'll also be fine with the 8-inch screen, for example. You have a lot of more functionality, and also nice to have the wireless CarPlay right now. Also assistance systems, the upgrades we explained to you in the driving part is also pretty interesting, especially with the capacitive steering wheel. This is also what will be leading on to the transition from the normal self-driving to the autonomous driving. The car is actually, more interacting with you. Very interesting as for that. And overall, still a good use of space you have. You have a lot of space in the rear, especially in the trunk. And that's also why this one here, as it is right now as a variant, so as the estate version, is also one of the most popular cars in Germany. The general handling and agility here with this vehicle, even with the Alltrack, is really great. So a nice handling, a good progressive steering feeling, I really like that. And you can still have a lot of fun in a sporty way, even if you go for a little bit higher Alltrack version as we had, for example, here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell us your comments about the Passat facelift and what you go for here for an Alltrack. Maybe the GTE, also very interesting with those power upgrades we had there. Explained to you earlier as well, that was also a very interesting choice, especially for the German customers, which now have more tax benefits as for the plug-in hybrids. So which Passat would you actually pick? Or would you rather go with the A4, with the 3 Series, or with the Mercedes C-Class? Tell me in the comments, and also tune in next time.
Volkswagen.